Hip hop, what's good? Hip hop, what is good? Another episode in the transformation of hip hop, the era between 2010 and 2019. I'm still your host, Robb Diggie, aka Robb DZ, aka at the real Robb Diggie on IG. You already know what it is. This is another episode. We are talking about Mr. Black and Yellow, otherwise known as Wiz Khalifa, or some could say the second coming of Snoop Dogg, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But first off, before we get started, I just want to say thank you to all of our followers, supporters, listeners that have been pushing us all the way to the top and continue to push us. We just had a couple of articles published in Voyage, Atlanta, Voyage, LA, Voyage. I think the other one there was another Voyage we got posted as well too. So thank you to all you guys. Thank you to my hometown, Atlanta, Georgia, all of our followers down there. And I want to give a quick shout out to UNEEK, Hustle Hard Music. UNEEK had a show last night at the Rhino here in Kansas City. I got to go out there and see UNEEK do his thing. And I'm telling you all, if you ever get a chance to see UNEEK, I'll put his description into the in this episode. His IG, he is killing the game. He's well known in Kansas City, well known in the Midwest. He's a phenomenal talent. He put on one of the best, if not the best, on stage performances in the city that I've seen in a really long time. So shout out to Dion, shout out to Hustle Hard Music, representing them today. And my special guest needs no introduction to the podcast. We have seen Mr. Satisfy on here for 3 times. This is going to be his 4th appearance. So one of the things that Satisfy reminded me of before we got started is I want to give just a quick moment of silence for the late, great DMX. Today is April 9th. We lost DMX last year. So just a short moment of silence for the late, great Earl Simmons, a.k.a. DMX. Phenomenal talent, gone too soon. We love you, X. Keep continue to watch over us, continue to watch over hip hop, and guide these young brothers and sisters that are doing our culture the right way. But I'm going to bring Satisfy in, you guys. Satisfy, good afternoon. What's good, brother? And reintroduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about what you have upcoming in regards to projects. What's good, man? Good afternoon. While I pour one up, man. Shout out to my kids for helping me out with this today, man. So
what's going on, guys? Satisfy. Big shout out to Robb for having me back on. Fourth time. Big fan of Diggie A2. Love what him and Jess have done with their brand, and definitely an inspiration for someone like myself as a creator and so forth. And pretty much lately, it's been working on some new music. Working on my 3rd album. It's going to be a rock album, so something completely different.
Love that.
And then pretty much I got this one song that I recorded. I'm just going to release it as a single. It's going to have 36 and Brimstone on it. For those who don't know, me and 36 are signed to the same management, DB Entertainment, Dion Brown. Dion, if you're watching this, shout out to you.
Shout out to Dion Brown, man. Yes.
And shout out to 36 as well.
Yes, of course.
Pretty much I'm going to be channeling their style, horrorcore on this track. So going to give you guys a horror movie without no visuals. So hopefully we scare you with our words. So
I can see Mike and Brady pulling out, like maybe make you put on a Freddy Krueger mask while you're rapping or Jason Voorhees mask or some weird stuff. Shout out to 36 and Brim, man. I love them guys, man. And I still listen to Monolith every single day, man. So shout out to them guys. I love them dudes. Shout out to you, Satisfying your movement. But today we are talking about Mr. Wiz Khalifa. So let's run down the tail of the tape. Let's talk about Wiz Khalifa real quick. He is a 1-time BET Award winner, recipient, 3-time Billboard Award recipient. We're going to talk about his studio albums. Now, Wiz Khalifa has a boatload of mixtapes, you guys. So we're not going to go talk about all of his mixtapes. I'll let Satisfy do that for us because I didn't have enough time this week to go through all the mixtapes. But the studio albums during this time period are Rolling Papers, March of 2011, which gave us the Chanting title track, rock song, signature song of Black and Yellow, Roll Up, The Race, and Rooftops are some of the ones I picked off of there. 2-time platinum album. Then the following year, he did the high school, going to high school with, was it Melvin? And help me out, Satisfy. I forgot the name of that real quick. You just said it a little while ago, him and Snoop.
Mac and Devin Go to High School.
Mac and Devin Go to High School. That's right. Mac and Devin Go to High School. He did the soundtrack on that. We all know that song from that album. That was Young, Wild, and Free, featuring the early Bruno Mars at the time. When Bruno Mars was just coming up. That was a one-time gold album. And then in December 2012, he released ONIFC, which stands for The Only N-Word in First Class, which to me, as I was telling Satisfy earlier, ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening in, go back and listen to that album. I think that's Wiz Khalifa's best body of work. That's when his rhymes and his beats had a perfect marriage. And I almost broke down every single track on there, but the ones I picked out were Paperbound, Bluffin', Work Hard, Play Hard, Fall Asleep, and Remember You, which features The Weeknd. Then in August of 2014, he came up with Black Hollywood with everybody's favorite anthem, We Them Boys remix, House in the Hills, a one-time platinum album. And then after that, he dropped one of my favorite songs, which I want to talk about or get Satisfy's opinion on here in a little bit. The song called See You Again, which was featured in the Furious 7 of the Fast and Furious series. Featuring Charlie Puth, and that was number 1 on the Billboard charts for 12 weeks in a row. To dedicate that to the great Paul Walker from the Fast and Furious series, and Paul was a great, phenomenal talent, and that song was dedicated to him. And I actually watched Fast and Furious 7 this past week, and I actually saw it, and it made me bring back Oh Wow, which is so ironic. I was like, wow, I'm watching this, and I'm doing Wiz this week. So I was like, that was something was telling me in the universe, or something was lining them up, man. But we'll talk about that. We'll come back to that. That was released in 2015. And then Wiz's last studio album released in this time era is Rolling Papers 2, released in July of 2018, which has Penthouse with Snoop Dogg, Real Rich with Gucci Mane, I Like Bootsy Bellows, Reach for the Stars featuring Bone Thugs and Harmony, and then Something New, which I love, Something New, with him and Ty Dolla $ign. So that is the premise or the foundation of our discussion this afternoon. So once again, ladies and gentlemen, welcome for tuning in. And Satisfy, when I think about Wiz Khalifa, I think of a phrase from the late, great Nate Dogg. And Nate Dogg said, hey, smoke weed every day. That's what I remember from Nate Dogg saying. Yeah. And that is synonymous with Wiz Khalifa for this generation and Snoop Dogg in my generation. So talk to me, Satisfy, of how you became a fan of Wiz Khalifa.
So I think it was around 2009, like early 2010. And I told you this. I can't remember if I heard of his song This Plane, which is off of the Deal or No Deal album or mixtape. I can't remember if it was an album or mixtape, but it was either This Plane or Say Yeah. But I remember the first time I heard of him, I was like, oh, this is cool. This sounds completely different. But then when I heard of either This Plane or Say Yeah, then I was like, I immediately became a fan because of just how dope he was and just like how his sound was so different. But like you could just tell, like based on his sound, like he just didn't care, what everyone thought. He just kind of, I'm sure he pretty much told himself, this is how I'm making my music.
Right.
And like because of that, like it was so different at the time. And it was just awesome. Like I became a fan immediately of Wiz around that time.
Yeah, so. I think that to your point. So if anybody knows the story of Wiz Khalifa, he kind of got bounced around early on in his career due to creative differences. Couldn't really find people to believe in his music. So he got bounced around. Then he got assigned to a major label. And then when he got to the major label, he dropped Rolling Papers, which was Black and Yellow, which is why we got Black and Yellow behind me here. That's one of his biggest hits. It's not his biggest hit of his career, but it was a major, major hit. If you guys go back and rewind back to 2010, 2011, Black and Yellow was everywhere. I mean, he's from Pittsburgh. So, I mean, it kind of goes hand in hand, right? But you could not get away from Black and Yellow. It was everywhere. I mean, Satisfy, literally, dude, if you remember, it was everywhere. It was a big hit, huge success for Wiz coming out the gate on that first Rolling Papers album. Definitely one of the signature first albums coming out for hip hop artists. And like you said, he did it his way. There was a lot of I don't remember him even having a lot of buzz before we came out. It's just kind of like, not saying he came out of nowhere, but you know how some rappers and artists get a lot of buzz before they come out. I didn't really hear a lot of buzz about Wiz before we came out. I don't even know if he was on he might've been on the XXL freshman class. I got to go back and research that, but I didn't hear anything much about him before we came out. But nonetheless, he's here. He's been here. He's been a huge part of hip hop and the success of hip hop. And one of the things I want to talk about with you, Satisfy, is when I listened back to Wiz's albums this week, he kind of has like this sound of fusion of pop and like rhythm and blues and hip hop. He's kind of not really in a box in a state. I guess we classify Wiz as hip hop, or that's what his roots are. But when you listen to some of his albums, he really has like a pop feel appeal to it. So what are your opinion about his actual sound of his music, or some of the songs that you think that go in that lane?
I mean, like when I first heard of it for the first time, like I said, I didn't like hate it or anything. Like I really enjoyed it because it was just something different at the time, you know, different from what hip hop was sounding like. Yeah. And I feel like that's what made everyone just fall in love with his music and all that. And pretty much like if you were in high school when I was, which was like, well, I mean, like I got into high school around like 2008, graduated in 2012, but mainly like 2010. Yeah. Like if you were in high school around that time, and like that's all we bumped in high school was Wiz Khalifa. Yeah. And like if someone asked you, hey, so what do you listen to? And you said Wiz Khalifa, like we knew you had good taste in music. We knew you had good taste in music. So we would get along just fine. So, but yeah, like Wiz Khalifa and other artists like Mac Miller and Kid Cudi and Wayne, Nicki and Drake, like they define like high school for me. Like and for everyone else that was in high school around that time. So yeah. And so tell me a little bit more about this, Satisfy. What is it about Wiz that inspires you to be a rapper? What are some of the things you pull from Wiz to take into your craft as an MC? Well, when I started rapping, I told Rob this, but for those that don't know, when I started rapping, like I wasn't like a super lyrical rapper. Like I just did it because I thought it was cool. And at the time, Wiz was like the rapper that I mainly listened to. So I tried to rap like him. Yeah. But the problem is that I did not smoke weed, even though I was rapping about smoking weed. And I rapped about getting girls. I was not a ladies' man whatsoever. So like, and because of that, it was just so fucking terrible. So we're like Wiz, like he was smooth with it. Like actually Wiz the way Wiz raps kind of reminds me of Jay a little bit, because when you hear Jay rap, it's just so smooth. Yeah. And like it's easy to like just become a fan immediately off the first listen. So yeah. And I definitely resonate with Wiz. I love his music. I love the way he does it his way. We already talked about that already. Carving his own lane into hip hop, which brings me to his I think it was his third or fourth studio album, ONIFC, which stands for the only N-word in first class. That was released in December 2012. And the reason why I thought that was his best body of work when I listened to it this past week, that was, work hard, play hard, work hard. Like I was like, give me like a little bit of chant, give you motivated. The bigger you are, the harder you fall. And like he was just like really another one of those gym anthems. There's a lot of gym anthems that we had in the 2010s, and that was definitely one of them. But to me, that was his standout track. But it was it was like the B-sides. I was like, oh, okay, like yeah, he's really got something there. Like this dude can actually rhyme. Like I think from the beginning of the album, the way it starts out, going to the paper bound, bluffing, I was like, oh, okay, now I think that was a part where I felt in his career that he wanted to be respected as an MC. I think he really, really elevated his game. And then, of course, we got Black Hollywood, which We Them Boys. We all know about We Them Boys. That was a huge, huge, sports anthem. And then, we get to See You Again. And I want to get your thoughts about See You Again, Satisfy. That was a, song dedicated to Paul Walker, smashed the charts in the Billboard 100. I think it was the Billboard's #1 song of 2015. So I'm flashing forward a couple of years later into that. But when you first heard See You Again, what did you feel from that? That song gives you like a feeling, you know what I mean? Like of someone you may have lost or someone close to you. We lost Paul Walker, but it still can be played right now. And you can still feel an emotion or some sort of connection to something that was going on when that song was hot. So what is your connection to that song, Satisfy? Talk to us about that. Because I know a lot of us in the audience, either watching or listening, knows that song from like the back of their hand, knows what they were doing when that song came out. So what were you feeling when that song came out? Oh man, I actually fell in love with that song right off the bat. Like, I just think it's a good song overall. Like, Wiz, he rapped his ass off on that song. And Charlie Puth, he did his, I think Charlie played the piano. Yeah, Charlie played the piano. So yeah, correct. And, he did his thing playing the piano and singing. And actually, now that I think about it, when it came to YouTube videos reaching 1 billion views, I remember Psy Gangnam Style. That was like the first video to ever hit 1 billion views. And then after that was See You Again.
This one,
so
yep, that's true.
I thought it was so dope when it hit 1 billion views. I'm like, this is a good look for hip hop for sure.
It is, man. And when I watched the music video this past week, and it was given like clips of Fast and Furious series, which I absolutely love, by the way. I'm a huge fan of the Fast and Furious series. But that song really just stuck with me. You know what I mean? Like in that time period of us losing Paul Walker, and at the end of Fast 7, I actually saw F7 like this past week, and you see Paul kind of driving off. I think it was his brother that was playing him. I think he passed before the movie was actually done filming. But that song, you guys, like, it's been a long day. It's just one of those. It's a big song, and I did not think, just like to your coin your phrase, Satisfy, that was a big moment for hip hop. Big moment for hip hop. To show that we can showcase and show different dynamics of our emotions and loss. And Wiz did a beautiful job with that song. So if you guys have that, I'm sure you guys have it on your streaming platforms. Everybody listens to that song, and then once we get to Rolling Papers 2. He did something new. I like something new with him and Ty Dolla $ign. I like that. But talk to me, Satisfy, about his mixtape games. I mean, I don't know how many Wiz Khalifa has. I didn't go back and count, but he's probably within the top 5 of hip hop artists in regards to mixtapes. So talk to me about some of the songs and or the mixtapes that you find yourself going back to.
I mean, like you said, there's so many, but I'll focus on one in particular: Kush and Orange Juice, Kush and OJ. Mm-hmm. Like, when that mixtape came out, like I said, it came out when I was in high school, and there was 2 mixtapes that everyone listened to in high school. That was No Ceilings by Lil Wayne, and then Kush and OJ by Wiz. And I think when that dropped on Dat Piff or whatever, anyone who's out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when it dropped, I think it like kind of like broke the site because everyone was like downloading it so much. And I remember, I think the one song that I really liked on it was In the Cut, where it's like, in the cut, rolling doobies up, wake up, gotta get my cake up. Like, it was so different, the beat and the flow, but it was different in a good way because like I said earlier, like the sound that Wiz brought to hip hop was so different, but it was so refreshing. Like, it was something that hip hop needed, I felt like. Yeah.
And I think to your point, I think when Wiz first came out, we did Black and Yellow and I Roll Up. He was just coming out. He was hungry. He was just got a new deal. It was like him reemerging himself. But then, as you can tell, as he got older and got wiser in the game, he started making bigger songs. I mean, big ginormous songs like See You Again and We Them Boys and big anthem songs. He figured it out with, I'm calling you Wiz. Satisfy, he figured it out, man.
I wish I was Wiz.
I wish you were Wiz, right? No shit.
I wouldn't be in Illinois.
No shit, my bad, dude. That's that. On that Henny over there. But my point is, I think he figured it out, man. He figured it out, like, the formula to fuse his creativity, his sound, and keeping hip hop at the forefront of that while doing it. And, I think it's incredible. And you can't get it out of the 20 teens without mentioning Wiz Khalifa. Even to this day, I still love Wiz and his music. And the last question I have for you, Satisfy, is a kind of a deep one. We're going to go a little bit deep on this one here. So Wiz draws a lot of parallels to Snoop Dogg. I don't know if it's because of the way they look kind of similar, the tattoos. I don't know what it is, but he draws a lot of parallels to Snoop. Why do you think that is? Why do we often compare Wiz Khalifa to Snoop Dogg? Why do you think that is? Outside of the obvious of weed. I mean, I get that. But outside of that, what do you think the parallels are drawn between Snoop Dogg's career and Wiz Khalifa? What do we think? Why do you think people put those 2 MCs together?
I mean, simple answer would be he was inspired by Snoop, I'm pretty sure. And like, also, if you compare their music side by side, like the way that they rap, it was just so smooth. Like, it's like their voice was meant to rap. Yeah. Like I can't picture Wiz or Snoop just having a regular 9-to-5 job, sitting at like a cubicle or working at a grocery store. Like, they were meant to rap and all that. And like, also like with Wiz and Snoop, like they actually both had clever wordplay. Like, it was like not like over the top wordplay to where you're like, oh my God, but it was like the kind of wordplay where it kind of slipped over your head a little bit and like kind of clever to where you're like, wait a second, let me rewind that back.
Right.
And then they like get back to just rapping about other stuff that's not like bar for bar, but like it was definitely the way that they rapped. It was so smooth, and it was like ear candy to us, to where we just couldn't get enough of their sound and their music. So when they teamed up and started making music together, when they did the Mac and Devin Go to High School movie and the soundtrack, and when they did Young, Wild and Free, like it was meant to be like for them. Like I feel like, I mean, when it comes to hip hop duos, like there's so many good duos, but I feel like the Snoop and Wiz duo is heavily slept on, and I feel like it should be talked about more.
I definitely agree. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that Snoop has always been, just smooth. He's been smooth since he first came out, but he was always like raw. And Wiz is like you mentioned, he kind of drew some parallels in his style, but man, when you get in the same, anything you get synonymous or be in the same category with Snoop, you're doing something right. So I'll leave it at that, man. But Satisfy, man, it has been great talking to you this afternoon. I'm sure the audience is glad to have you back on the platform, but it is about time, ladies and gentlemen, to start wrapping things up in this episode. So as we have been doing the entire season, at every episode of season 5, is giving a hands up, don't shoot salute to Daunte Wright, the life and memory of Daunte Wright. So Satisfy, you can join me up putting your hands up in the air. I'm going to say hands up. You're going to say don't shoot. We're going to say this chant 3 times to remind everybody about the importance of social injustices in the United States. So one time, Satisfy, hands up.
Don't shoot.
Hands up.
Don't shoot.
Hands up.
Don't shoot.
Rest in peace, Daunte. Thank you, Daunte, for all your contributions. Rest in peace to all the others that we have lost through the social injustice in the United States. Continue to watch over us and bless us and guide us on the right path. However, Satisfied, this is your 4th appearance on the platform. Thank you, man, for coming on, man, sharing everybody with your wisdom and reminding me again about the 1-year anniversary we lost Mr. Earl Simmons, DMX. So thank you for reminding me of that, because I actually slipped my mind. So thank you for reminding us about that. And throw that plug in there if you guys want to see Satisfied episode, go back to the channel, watch him on there with DMX, watch him on there with me and him talking about 50 Cent. Satisfy is a phenomenal talent, but this is your time to shine, sir. Give me your shout outs this week, man.
I mean, shout out to you and Jess. Shout out to you guys believing in me and my music and everything, and all the love and support that you've shown me. So shout out to my mom and dad, my sister Kelsey. Shout out to my manager Dion Brown. Shout out to everyone on DB Entertainment, from Mac 36, Spiff, who now goes by Graham Shipley now.
Shipley, yeah, I saw that. Switch it up, Spiff. I like that.
Yeah, and shout out to Chevin also, and shout out to my tattoo artist for tattooing this right here recently.
Nice. Witnesses growth. I love that, man. I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, so shout out to all those people.
Well, my shout outs are short. First off, shout out to Satisfy, always blessing us with this expertise and this hip hop knowledge. Shout out to all of the project you're working on, brother. I told Satisfy before we started, you guys, that I'm always watching. I don't usually comment a lot on Instagram, but I'm always watching in the shadows and just watching Satisfy grow and watching his career progress from the first time I met him to now. All the growth and progress he's making and continuing to make. You guys look out for that Rock album later on when he releases that. We're definitely going to support Satisfy and DB Entertainment. Shout out to Dion Brown. Shout out to everybody on the roster for DB Entertainment. Shout out to my kids, my loved ones. Shout out to Miss Connect the Dots, of course, Jess, for always being the queen behind the scenes. And just shout out to everybody in peace and love right now, man. We need a lot of that. A lot of I was going to say, Satisfied. There's a lot of negativity going on. I see, just in general. I'm not going to point any instances out. Just a lot of negativity. We got to get back to the peace and love and getting back to loving one another and supporting one another. Support is free. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say that one more time. Support is free. It doesn't cost you a dime to drop an Instagram post or share a Facebook post or anything like that. It's all free, and we should be doing more of that. So definitely shout out to everybody. But that's all we got this week, you guys. Next week, we're going to be talking about the Diggie A2 Progression of Hip Hop LLC's birthday is going to be next week, and we're going to be culminating our birthday with Travis Scott, one of my favorite MCs from Texas. We'll talk about Travis next week. All the controversies, all the stuff he's stirred up in the 10 years. So we'll talk about Travis next week, you guys. So that's all we have. You all stay safe, stay humble, stay hip hop. 100, man. Peace.